To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright. So
what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of For the Underdogs. I'm super excited about this episode. I've been waiting on this one all week. I'm here with my good friend, the founder of Llovesick, also ASU alumni, Collin McMannis.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, sir. I'm happy you're here. Thank you for coming, bro.
As soon as I saw you were starting this, I was like, I need to get on that. Not only just to be on it, but to have a more conversation with you.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy because I remember when I launched it, you had shot me a text saying congratulations. And I told you that when I was thinking of doing this, you popped into my head just because I kind of know your story of where you were and where you are now. And it was reassurance that, like, it's supposed to feel this way when you're starting something new. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest piece for me. Like, I was a little nervous.
I was gonna say, how did you feel?
Man, I felt like I was just nervous to put myself out there.
To jump.
Yeah, the jump. But it's like, if you don't start, how are you going to know how it's going to turn out? And we're only 3 episodes in, but like the reactions that we've been getting have been great. And I feel happy with the work that I'm doing. That's the biggest piece for me. So I appreciate you sending me that text because you were definitely inspirational in me feeling comfortable enough to do this.
Those little things really matter to me. And I just try to give what I would want to receive. And even if it's just a congratulations text, if I got that from certain people in my life when I was starting Llovesick, that meant something to me.
Yeah.
And so I just know how far that can go. And that's why I sent it.
You always been super humble about everything. Like
my boys would not agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about your boys too, because I feel like you got a good team around you.
Yeah.
And you guys ride hard for each other. So we're going to get into that.
Absolutely.
But you've always been like, when I say down to earth, like I can hit you with a text and you're going to text me back, you know, regardless of how successful the brand has been. And that's been something that I've appreciated since knowing you since maybe 2017. Like we've never sat down and had a official conversation like this, but it's always been love regardless of where you are or where I am.
Last time we spoke in person was at the club.
Yeah.
Midday.
Yeah, your event.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always come out here to do events. What's the, obviously former Sun Devil, but why is Arizona so special to you? What's the tie like, and why do you always choose Arizona to come do these events?
Arizona brought me to the West Coast. You go back to the humble thing. I think that starts with my parents, but also my Midwest roots. I don't want to say sheltered, but like in the Midwest, you grew up in LA.
Yeah.
We grew up way different.
Yeah.
You grow up, in my opinion, way faster than I do.
For sure.
When you're from a small town, you aren't exposed to much things. And like, I think, not to take anything away from you, but it's almost like you appreciate the little things more because you haven't seen the big things. And so I think that's where the humbleness comes from. But I can act up if I have to.
Yeah. You got that in you.
Yeah. I definitely got the dog in me. Got it on me too.
As you should.
But Arizona is special to me because it pulled me away from the East Coast. I went to school in this, I don't know if you knew this, but I went to school at St. Leo in Tampa Bay, right out of high school on a lacrosse scholarship.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't meshing at all.
Why is that?
Small school, smaller than my high school. I got injured, so I got redshirted. And so I was injured, not playing lacrosse, away from home. I already met everybody at the school. And, you know, like when you're in a new environment and there's nothing new to learn and you're hurt and you're not doing the one thing that brought you there, it's hard to be happy. So I left after a semester, went back to Akron. I was going to either go to South Carolina, the Gamecocks, or Arizona State. It was between the two. Came on a recruiting visit here, and I had a recruiting visit the following week in South Carolina. And after my visit here, I said, cancel the South Carolina trip.
Yeah, I'm coming.
I'm going to Arizona State. There's nothing that is going to change my mind.
Yeah.
And then it took me a little while to get out here, but I love Arizona because it just opened like a new world to me. You know, I never thought when I was younger that I was going to be a West Coast person. I grew up on the East Coast. My dad's a Marine, so I'm a military brat.
Yeah.
Grew up coming up and down the East Coast. So I thought that was kind of going to be my future. My family's there. Both my sisters and my moms are out that way. I just think Arizona is special to me because it brought me west.
For sure.
Not not to mention all of the amazing people I met, all the experiences that I had, all the trouble I got into, all of the things that made me who I am. I think it just molded me. And obviously we've had a few events in Arizona, specifically to Arizona, obviously the Coyotes coming up. That's to the team, but I used to work in the clubs at the end of my college career. And so I've just made a lot of connections. And the club started hitting me up and like, hey, we want to do something with you. We see the hats everywhere. We want to do like a party. So that's why we've started doing parties out here. I don't party at home. So when I leave the state is when I have fun.
You get it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so that's,
dope.
Arizona's the watering hole.
So how did you get into fashion? Obviously, Llovesick is the brand. I love the brand. I love the quality of it. The pieces you put out. I have so many hats and shirts. And like we talked about the jeans. I want the jeans. We got to talk about that later. But how did you get into fashion? Because obviously, like you said, come out to Arizona. And then what led you to get into the clothing line business?
Playing big time football, that if you look good, you play good. How you do your socks with your cleats, how you do your wristbands, how your jersey fits, how you do your eye black, whatever it is. And that was always with me when I was playing lacrosse. I always really cared about my shoes. Do you remember East Bay magazine?
Of course.
I used to be in East Bay magazine, making sure my shoes match our jersey, made sure they match my wristbands. And that always mattered to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like the fashion kind of thing started. It started with my shoes though, because I always cared about shoes. And then as I was going to Arizona State, I started kind of testing different things. I remember trying skinny jeans for the first time. I remember all my friends making fun of me.
Yeah.
I remember wearing baggy jeans with like basketball shoes. In high school, I wore polo puffer vests, really baggy denim, Timberlands, like Yankee fitted hats.
Yeah, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, that was like my style in high school.
Yeah.
And then it just kept kind of transforming with the trends. I got a job at Urban Outfitter on Mill. And I don't want to say that inspired me, but like somewhat involving fashion. So it was starting to like kind of snowball. I knew I just always cared about my outfits. I always just cared about how I looked, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But Polo was one of my favorite brands. My mom used to buy me Polo all the time, being an East Coast person. I still didn't really like think fashion was my future, but I was living out here after I graduated. I did about a year out here working in the clubs at night and working at a staffing firm during the day. Okay. And I was getting burnt out. I was partying too much. Had gotten in trouble previously. And I was visiting one of my best friends, Brian, in California probably every other weekend. And we were going out to clubs in LA. And we went to this club called No Vacancy. This guy was wearing a jacket. I commented on his jacket just randomly. We started talking. Turns out that he owned a clothing brand called Dope, if you remember that back in the day.
Dope. Yeah.
Also turns out that he employed one of my best friends and teammates at Arizona State. Oh. And so we immediately clicked. Yeah. And then, we're getting drunk, we're having fun, we're getting friendlier. And he goes, I'm starting a new brand, and I need a young salesman. Would you want to like interview? And I'm like, absolutely. So a couple weeks later, I drove out to California again. I interviewed, and he gave me the job on the spot. And then I moved there a month later. And so that's kind of what opened the door to fashion. Yeah. And that was minimal.
That was minimal. I want to talk about when you were at Minimal and then you decided that you wanted to leave. And
I didn't decide I wanted to leave.
Okay, so what happened?
I got chopped.
Okay, you got chopped.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about when you got chopped from Minimal and that time period where you were going back to the drawing board and trying to figure out where you wanted to go, because I kind of vividly remember speaking to you around that time, and you were definitely ambitious about what you wanted to do, but it was weighing on you.
We had just met.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got let go. I was doing social media and wholesale. And then I started doing all the fit modeling. So back in the day, I was the model on the website. You could tell by my tattoos. Yeah. And I wanted a little more money, and my boss didn't agree, so he let me go.
Okay.
And then I was kind of like really lost. I was 23, 24, going on 24, had zero clue what I wanted to do. One of the reasons why Minimal wasn't working out, because I wasn't making any money.
Right.
And at the beginning of that, it was all good because I was in California. I'm young. I'm living down at Hermosa Beach. Everything's great. But then as I started living in California, as you know, it's like your lifestyle catches up.
Catches up for sure.
And then you got to maintain. And I wanted to do different things. I wanted to go have fun. I wanted a car. I wanted like to do different things, and I couldn't afford it. So my thought process, I didn't get a job for probably 7-8 months. I forgot about fashion. I thought it was gone. I thought the whole thing, fashion, was in the rearview mirror. So what I remember from college is one of my good friends was like, medical sales is really lucrative. And I remember thinking about it out of college, but you know how it is when you are interviewing, you need like 10 years experience, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So didn't have any opportunities out of college, but then I really do think that I work the best when my back is against a wall, which is good and bad, because you kind of put yourself in those positions to succeed sometimes.
You find out a lot about yourself in those moments as well.
Yeah. And I just said, I'm doing medical sales no matter what happens. And then it just so happens one of my teammates' father was like, hey, we got a position in LA. You should interview for it. And if I get an interview, I think I could talk my way through anything. So got an interview and got into it. But that time period between getting that job, I was just fucking off, thinking that like my severance would last forever, thinking unemployment would fill me in. I don't have any issues. And then joined the medical sales team, fired up to do it. And then I quickly realized that this wasn't for me. Wearing a suit, shaving every day, covering my tattoos, kind of ostracized within the company from older employees, like making comments about how I dressed, about how I looked. And then about a year in, I knew for a fact that this wasn't going to last. And that's when the fashion button kind of turned back on again. And I knew, I like sat back and said, like, what are the things that I love? And sports was one of them. And the way I dress was the other, clothing, style. And I looked at sports and thought, what am I going to do? I'm not an athlete, or at least not anymore.
Right.
I don't know if I have the patience to go be an agent and be at the bottom of the totem pole for 3 or 4 years.
That's tough.
Yeah. I don't know if I had that in me. So I was like, that's not an option. And I thought, what is the next thing I love? It's how I dress, how I look. So let's get back into fashion. But it was like, let's get into fashion at a minor role. Let's go work for marketing and for GOAT or Hype Beast or someone like that. And then I started applying to jobs and getting denied left and right. And this is my second year with the medical company. And this is about a year of me trying to figure it out, of getting denied from jobs. And then about 2 years into the medical game, after getting denied from everything, really not having a clue what I'm going to do, my mom and my middle sister, Emily, who are out here this weekend, were like, you should just try to do something on your own. Just try. And I'm 25, 26, 27 maybe. I don't even know how old I was. And I was like, there's no way. I'm not smart enough. I don't know how to start a business. I didn't have the balls at the time. Like, I just was very immature then too. And I fully recognized the guy I was then to who I am now. I just didn't have it in me. I wasn't that guy. And then another about 7 months of doing that job and being straight miserable, waking up with massive anxiety. Anytime my phone rang, I thought I was getting in trouble at work because I wasn't fully invested. So I wasn't doing the job at the best of my ability. And I knew that. So that's why I had this anxiety.
Yeah, your heart wasn't in it.
Yeah,
like,
you've been
truly.
there, like just not doing something you don't like.
Yeah, and obviously you were saying that you didn't feel like you were good enough or you weren't smart enough. That inner self-critic is huge when you're in a new territory and you're starting to try to find your way to something new. The things that we tell ourselves can almost talk us out of getting to where we truly need to be. So I feel like I can definitely resonate with where you were. I've had that same feeling, obviously, with this. And my inner self-critic is a beast. Like, like trying to tame that into positive self-talk, I think, is one of the hardest things.
I still struggle with it.
Yeah. Well, it's an everyday thing. I don't think that we ever truly get to a place of like our inner self-critic is positive all the time, you know?
It rarely is for me.
Yeah, I think it's a long-term thing that we constantly have to keep developing. But I want you to keep telling your story.
Yeah.
But that is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, is an inner self-critic.
100%. I mean, I'm right on point with you.
Mm-hmm.
But back to that part where I was being told by my mom and sister, try it. I didn't have the confidence. But then the weight of the job was so heavy on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. I even get emotional talking about it because I remember the feelings, and I get chills too, of just every day just being so like not loving yourself, not being happy with where you are in life, getting older, so much coming at you, not having the job that you like. That with the combination of, I was seeing a girl, and I don't see many girls. Like, I don't date a lot. Mm-hmm. I just don't find women that I'd be willing to give my free time to. Mm-hmm. And this one girl, for the first time in my life, I was like, man, I think I could really like be serious with this girl. And I was up here and she was down here, and I didn't really recognize it. And the two things, eventually she told me, hey, like, I see you're not happy in your job. I don't necessarily want to be with a guy that's not happy, amongst other things. And she bounced. And that, with the combination of me hating my life, like, put me into a corner that I've just never have ever been in before. One day I had an epiphany, and I was like, I don't want to do this job and I'm shaking because I'm talking about it. I don't want to do this job and wake up at 40 with 2 kids and a wife that I almost resent because I hate my own life. And I thought, I have to get out no matter what. And then I just started thinking, what can I do? And I started thinking about my mom and my sister and what they were saying. And obviously they're my biggest cheerleaders. And it's almost hard to take their compliments and their praise, because I no matter what, they're going to support me. So it's almost like, is it real support?
That's a good problem to have, though, when you know that these people are going to back you regardless of what you do. Like,
that's a good perspective, because I almost look at it differently. I almost look at it negatively because I don't know if they're ever really telling me the truth. You know what I mean? Because I know that, like, even if I fucked up, they would have my back, which is great. Amazing, because more people need that. But from my perspective, it was like, are they telling me? Like, are they just blowing gas, or can I really do this? And then eventually those two things came together, and I just said, fuck it. I'm going to try this. And I remember it was 2019. I had my own apartment in Brentwood. I had 2 cars. I had all the monetarily shit that I needed, but I was miserable, and I was drinking alone in my apartment. I never put out PSAs. This is going back to what we just talked about being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm going to do something. And waiting for the critics, the people around you to respond. I put a story out that I still have saved.
I remember it too.
On my fucking Instagram, and said, hey, I'm about to do something crazy. I'm going to start a brand. I don't have a name. I don't have clothing, but this is something I'm passionate about. I don't know when I'm going to start it, but this is what I'm going to do. If you want to follow me, I appreciate it. If you don't, thank you. And that was like the start of, okay, I'm going to start a brand. And I don't know how I'm going to start it. I don't know what I'm going to start it with. I don't know what the name's going to be, but I know I want to make clothes.
That's super dope. I think the fact that you started is the biggest piece.
If I wasn't drinking wine that night, it wouldn't have happened.
No?
If I was sober, I wouldn't have done it, but I was drunk.
Why do you say that, though?
Because I was loose. I was like, I was in my apartment. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna put a story up. Because I hate PSAs. I hate being like, hey, come support me.
For sure.
It's hard for me to ask for support.
It is, because I think we're kind of wired as people to think that if we're asking for support, it makes us look
weak
or desperate
or vulnerable, which is a hard position to be in.
It's a tough position to be in. I think even with this podcast, like before I first launched it, I'm sitting there sending text messages out, hey, about to launch this, and I'm feeling a certain type of way, but I'm like, the people that it's meant for, they're gonna gravitate towards it, and it's gonna be genuine. And I think that kind of resembles the position you were in. Like, the people that saw your message, and you may have not known that they believed in you from a aspect of he's gonna create some shit, but they did, and they followed you. And now look where it's at, you know? Sometimes our perspective is off when it comes to using our network to create something, and we look at it as, they're going to look at me as being weak, you know? Whereas the right people are going to take it and help build you up. And I want to talk about the team of guys that you got around you, because I always see you guys repping the brand super tough. And I want to talk about how they probably each bring something to the table that you may not have thought of, but I think it's so important to have the right people around you. Like you said, you were dating someone and it didn't match where you were trying to go or where you thought you were going. What do your friends as your team help you do when it comes to creating this brand, whether it's mentally they give you peace or whatever the case may be? What is that like for you, having those guys around you?
I got a group of 12 guys that I played lacrosse with at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And when I came to Arizona State, I left NCAA to come play club. And my understanding was when I came to play club was that it was going to be relaxing. We're going to have fun and just relax and play ball. When I got here, we had a coach from Maryland, which is a coveted Division I program, top tier lacrosse. He was a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned that this is being run like a Division I program.
Yeah.
So conditioning, 2-a-days during fall ball, 6 a.m. practice in the morning, kind of like you're obviously not as like grueling as Division I football, but like he treated it like a Division I program. And so we suffered together for years. I only played 2 years. I quit sophomore, junior year, came back senior year, played freshman year, but we suffered together. And when a group of guys go through hell together and they have a common thing that they dislike, you like get close.
For sure.
On top of getting in trouble on Mill Avenue, on top of crazy house parties, on top of going to class together and just bonding. Those moments, I think, on the lacrosse field with those guys just brought us really close. We still have a group chat today that we talk in. It's active every single day.
Yeah.
It ain't funny memes much more. It's more like, hey, my baby's one now.
Yeah.
So it's a different
Times
story.
changed,
Yeah, times have definitely changed.
Yeah.
I'm behind the ball on that, but going at my own pace.
Yeah.
But I truly think our friendship started from the suffering, and I'm sure you can attest to it playing ball. Like when you go through challenging thing with a group of guys, you just become closer. And these guys are like truly like will have my back as far as I see it for anything. And I'm very different than them. None of them are like me. I'm a little more not private, but like I do kind of things my own way.
Yeah.
I ride solo a lot in my life in LA. But their support is what they give me.
That's the biggest piece.
They, you know, when it was 2018 and this girl invited me to Soho House in LA to go see Ruigi, the founder of Rude Speak. We're sitting there, and as he walks in with his whole squad. They're all wearing Rude. Every single one of them, a different piece. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, dude, if I could just get my gang to like just all wear Llovesick one day, that would be so dope. Yeah. And, you know, fast forward 3 years later, everybody's rocking it. And that's, you know, I know they're not faking it because the boys will post a picture or post a story, or I'll see someone else's story and the guys will just be wearing it. Not even like, it's not even like pushed or anything. Yeah. And they're always repping it. And that's what matters to me. Just showing the support of wearing it. And the orders coming in. Like when I see a friend ordering it and I don't see the discount code that I made specifically for them, it's like, damn, dude, that's love. Like you're really supporting me. For sure. And that means so much to me. Yeah. And there's difference. You know, you see the guys that are always asking for a code or asking for a free hat. And then there's the guys that are like, don't even question me, the best friends. Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's like the guys that kind of know you ask for free shit and the guys that really know you never do. Yeah. It's just weird how it works. Yeah. And those guys, I mean, we'll be friends to the day we die. But I think just what we went through as like teammates and then just getting close over the years kind of gave us that like bond that's kind of unbreakable. I don't want to compare it to military because those guys go through a lot more and I would never try to like take away from anything but it's similar that like you suffer together and you learn about each other and you bond. And those guys are just there for me no matter what. That's super And, you know, going back to why I throw parties out here because they're all out here. Yeah. So,
yeah, you guys are, it's super cool to watch you guys all just it seems like you guys all have that one common goal, and it's to lift each other up and to support what each other is doing, whether it's, I know you guys are cold tubbing together or working out together, whatever it is.
Yep.
Like, that's so important to have the right people around you.
I think I take it for granted. I don't know. You can maybe attest to it, but like for me, it's like, don't all guys have this?
You know,
like, don't all
crazy?
like guys have good friends like this?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Like, I know that I can call on certain people when it comes to supporting me in my whatever, you know, external goals.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us think we have friendships, like we place people on high pedestals until they show us different.
Oh yeah.
You know? And
I've learned that.
It seems like, watching from the outside, you guys have all been on the same accord when it comes to this brand and pushing it and moving a certain way, supporting each other a certain way. Like, it seems like it's genuine love, as opposed to like some people it takes, oh, now he's successful with this, let me jump on and try to show my support, you know? It seems like from the jump you guys were like, let's do this and we're going to ride together, you know?
I mean, those guys have been there with me since day one, you know, right when I put out that story, they all started following me.
Yeah.
And I just was taking pictures from other accounts and posting them, trying to create like a lifestyle vision, but they were all there supporting me from day one. And, you know,
don't take that for granted though. Like, don't take for granted those friendships that, like, when you sit with me and you talk about this, like, really appreciate the fact that you have those people in your corner, because a lot of people don't have 5 people, let alone 12 guys that they can call on to support them in life in general, you know?
Yeah.
So really appreciate that, and like just like soak in that moment.
As I get older, I understand it better.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I probably took all of them for granted. But now as I'm growing, you know, being in LA and trying to make my mark out there, I knew people from school. I knew these people. I knew those people. I'm like the one friend in my group that has like 10 cell groups that I can go out and do stuff with, go party with, go to get invited to something. But all those other groups are like, what I've learned are acquaintances. Not to take anything away from some of my friends that aren't in this group. Yeah. But like a lot of them I've learned over the last couple of years is like, when I was younger in LA, I was trying to be friends with everybody, trying to hang out with everybody that I thought could either be good friends or could help me or we could help each other. And as I was going through the years, I was like, okay, these people are only friends with me because I'm doing this or that. These people are only friends with me because I'm offering something at the time. And then I look back at the guys here, I'm like, they've been with me forever. Yeah. And I need to appreciate them. It's so crazy. It's like, as I'm getting older and I'm learning this, they say the most important people are the ones that are always like your family and friends. And I think in my 20s, I did not appreciate my family and friends enough. And now I'm building this brand. It's like giving me an appreciation for the people that really support me. And that's why I try to give the boys stuff all the time or give my family stuff. I love giving. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. So anytime I can like give, it's to the boys or to the family or to the people that really are there. And so, like I said, you kind of find out who your friends are once you start building, because they weren't there then, but they're here now.
Right. I think it's important to like go through that phase of life. Like,
it's challenging.
It is.
Because you're learning, like, oh man, that guy doesn't really care. Yeah. And it's like, I wanted to be friends with him. And now 3 years later, it's like, thank God I'm not.
Exactly.
Thank God I'm not.
Yeah. Some people go through life and they can't really pick apart that though, you know, and they're getting fake support or fake love from people that are just kind of riding the wave. Yep. Like, it's important that we go through the phase of life of deciphering who is best suited for where we're trying to go and that's what you have around you. So
that ties me back to coming here.
Yeah.
Because I want to party with the guys that mean something to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. I mean, we did something in Miami and I brought all the boys.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go to Texas.
No, you want
and
to
party
be
with people I don't know.
Yeah, the real
I want to be
love.
with the guys that support me from day one.
Yeah.
So anytime I have an event, the first text goes to the group chat. It says, guys, I'm doing this. I would love for you all to be there.
I love that.
That's
Shout out.
one.
Yeah. Shout out to your boys.
Shout out to the
man.
boys.
So former athlete, you probably still got some athletic genes in you.
I mean, I lost a few steps from my freshman year to my senior year. I knew that it was gone.
Yeah. I want to talk about that competitive nature though. What is that like for you in your mentality when are you creating these pieces with a competitive nature, or what is that, mindset like for you? Does that transition to fashion, or is it a completely different game?
I think there's definitely always competitiveness within you, but I don't know if I use that currently. This is kind of embarrassing, but I use like my pain and like the hard times to fire me up.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that though.
I'm an emotional guy, hence lovesick.
Yeah.
My dad, shout out my father. We have a great relationship, but he's a long life Marine. And from 7th or 8th grade to 2019, pretty much, he was never around.
Okay.
He was in Iraq and Afghanistan for about 17 years, back and forth. Came home for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, then we was back for about a full year. So I kind of blame him for my downfall of my athletic career, because I think if he was around to push me and give me a little harder lessons, I would have put the work in. But having said that, I grew up with my sisters and my mom, and they're emotional women. And I think I took a lot of that from them. Relationships with women don't come easy to me. And if they do, sometimes they're difficult for me to handle if they end, because I invest myself, and I love hard, and I use pain. I mean, I started this brand because a girl told me I wasn't good enough, on top of other things. But like, I use that to motivate me. Some of my best stuff I think I've made is when I've been my saddest. And so yeah, being competitive is a part of it. But I don't look at other brands and say, like, I need to do better than them. I'm just kind of trying to do what I think is right and what I like. And so I don't ever, like, go out and be like, they're doing this and I need to be better than that and I need to have cooler things than them.
Right.
I do, like, what fires me up, and then I'll put myself in that situation, and then that's how I create.
That's important. Like, you're focused on
Myself.
yourself.
Yeah.
So many of us nowadays you open your phone, Instagram, social media, looking at what other people have going on. I think you get sidetracked so easy, and it's the fastest way to not be happy with your accomplishments,
Don't get me wrong, I still do that.
Yeah.
And but I am better at handling it and understanding why I'm doing it, and then separating the two of like, okay, yeah, you don't have that, but like, you are doing your own thing and you're on your own path. So it might just take a little longer to get there.
Yeah.
But like, just focus on what you're doing.
That's okay if it takes you a little longer to get there. I want to talk about the tattoo then. Is that the You're Enough tattoo?
That is directly from that relationship. Those were the words that were told to me. And that fired me up. Not only fired me up, but it hurt me. A lot of people experience being told, hey, I don't want to date you. Hey, you're not enough. But I hadn't experienced it until 25, 26. And it just hit me in a way that I have never really experienced before. I just have never been, I don't want to use this word lightly, but like thrown to the curb before. And when it did happen, it was like, whoa, this is a feeling I never want again. And this tattoo is just a daily reminder to myself that I am enough. I'm a big self-talk, like you said.
Yeah.
I'll walk by my house in the mirror. I'll catch myself in the mirror and I'll go say a couple fired up things to get fired up throughout the day. So I talk to myself a lot. I have that inner monologue.
Same.
And it's just, good days and bad days. It just kind of look down and just remember that, like, regardless of who comes in and out of your life, like you are enough for somebody, you just might have not found him yet, or you're enough to do what you want to do. I just need that reminder.
That's
and
okay,
I need to see it.
Yeah, that's okay. I know in my bathroom at home, like I have a whiteboard
Yep.
and it says, I am worth it. I will always be worth it.
100%.
Like, and that goes for, I was in a time in my career where I kind of went through those self-worth issues, whether I felt like I should have been playing more or had more success, whatever the case may be. And I let that sink into me as a person, so I constantly remind myself, whether it's affirmations or whatever, that whiteboard, I am worth it. I will always be worth it. Like every time I walk in the bathroom, I look at it and I read it.
And there's a difference between saying it inside your head and seeing it.
Yes.
And just like goals, successful people say, write down your goals, because it's different than having it in your head and actually seeing it on paper or on a wall.
Yeah.
It's so much different. So I just thought, why not put it on me?
I think it's dope. I think it's super dope. So go ahead.
I was going to say, most of my tattoos are just reminders.
Yeah.
I got my dog, who's important to me. I got dream until it's your reality. It's just, most of my tattoos are just reminders of like either where I've been, a moment in my life that I was happy about, or what I'm trying to do. And that's why I get tattoos.
Yeah.
And it's also like an artistic, creative way to kind of separate myself from other people.
Yeah.
I don't like being like other people. I really, really strive to be my own individual self, unapologetically. I get made fun of sometimes for it, but like okay. I'm getting past that point where I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't care. I
think that's important to move that way. Like so many times I feel like I've let myself kind of fall victim to thinking, in the NFL, sometimes you get done with a game, you got 100, 200 tweets about how you played and people criticizing you. Like, it's so important to really not give a fuck about what other people are thinking. Obviously, to a certain extent, like
right.
You got to move accordingly, be a good person and do the things that, how you would want someone to treat you.
Fine line between not giving a fuck and being a good person.
Yeah. 100%. But when we talk about like where we're trying to go in life, and if your intentions are pure, I think that's the correct way to move.
That's what I'm trying to do every day. I'm just trying to focus on me and mine. And if I can take care of me and mine, then I think everything else will fall into place. So
that's powerful right there.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're definitely not there, but we're working on it.
It's a constant, that type of work is a constant type of thing. Like
always working at it.
You'll never meet the destination. It's always just keep doing that work.
It's another thing that's I'm like working through right now is like being, Kobe says it, falling in love with the process.
Yeah.
I tend to look ahead all the time.
It's hard.
And I need working on focusing on enjoying the process and the hard shit. Because I think Kobe said, like, you're never going to get to your destination.
Yeah.
You gotta, and the stuff that you're going to look back on is all of the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be an ending point because there is no ending point.
Yeah.
It's all of the work you put in, all the hours, all the tears of sweat. That's like the actual part of the game that's loved.
Yeah, it is. I think falling in love with the process keeps you present.
Yep.
When you look at where you are now, the fact that you can look back on all the things that got you to that point, you're present in that. You know what I'm saying? And it helps you kind of keep that motivation and stay hungry instead of just, like I talked about on my last episode, kind of just going through life and not understanding where you really are. Like being present, I think, is something that we all need to work on.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there is a part of that another thing that I'm like trying to kind of work through is like the ability of appreciating where you are, but having people that support you. It's something that I'm dealing with right now is like having people saying you're doing good. You're doing so good. Great job.
Yeah.
But then in your own head, you're like, I feel like I haven't done shit yet.
Yeah.
Like I haven't done anything yet. And that's something that I'm battling with right now.
Same. That's crazy because obviously I've transitioned out of the NFL, and something that I've been working on is looking at my career as an accomplishment. I have a hard time looking at my football career that I accomplished something because...
How many people make the NFL?
Right. I don't look at it that way, though. I look at it as I had these goals when I came into the NFL, and I didn't meet these goals, so I didn't accomplish what I came in to do. Like, to me, the work that I was putting in was going to get me to the NFL. I truly believe that. But when I got there, and now when I look back on it, I'm like, you didn't accomplish everything that you were supposed to. And maybe it's a good thing, you know, like it's keeping me hungry post-football. But I'm trying to work on that. You did accomplish something by being part of that 1%. And so many dope moments that I had in my NFL career. Now that I look back on it, I'm like, damn, I really
You did that.
Yeah, I did, you know, but it's hard to look at it that way when you're constantly in this mode of like, I can do more, I can do better, or I expect more or better from myself. Yeah.
But that's what's going to keep you moving forward and like continue to try new things and be successful in something else outside of football, in my opinion, is that like, although it's like a give and take, although you may feel that way, that same feeling is going to keep you hungry to do something else great outside of football.
100%. I'm thankful that I have that trait, you know, like, because for a moment after I got done playing, it was kind of like I went into the whole depression, you know, like feeling like I didn't do enough. And I had read something somewhere that was like, and this may not resonate with everyone, but I know it resonated with me, like depression is untapped potential. And that struck me, like when I saw that quote, like immediately I'm like, that is what it is. You know, I had so many expectations for myself that I didn't meet. It was all untapped potential. But I'm so thankful that I had that fire in my stomach to keep going, because I can't imagine where I would be if I didn't have that, you know?
What do you think was like the main contributing factor to pull you out of that?
My daughter.
Yep.
Like, my daughter.
Yep.
100%. Like, it's so crazy when you have a child and you see part of yourself in that child. Like, that part of me, I'm like, I have to keep going, you know? Like, I can't fail.
Right.
You know, like, it just, seeing her have a personality and who she is, like, that is really what jump-started me to, like, you gotta figure it out.
Maybe I should have a couple kids.
I wouldn't advise if you're not ready for it, but one day, the timing is everything, you know what I'm saying? But that is really that's what sparked it. And then, you know, really diving into the deep work of like figuring out who I am, what makes me happy, like what are my traumas. Like I dove into all of that because I couldn't get to this space of being vulnerable if I didn't do the work. I would feel like an imposter, you know?
Yep.
And that was one of my biggest things when I started this podcast. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that's speaking through this mic and people are like, that's not really him.
Right.
Like, I haven't figured it all out yet, but believe that I'm on that path to figuring it out, you know?
I think as a man, being vulnerable is like the hardest thing in the world, especially if you have like a wife and a daughter, because you are the man.
Yes.
And I don't have that, but like, I think that is the most difficult part of being a man, is understanding it's okay to be vulnerable and like taking that and channeling it and using it in a different way.
Yeah. I think a lot of us have a hard time trusting that the people in our lives are going to accept us being vulnerable. And that's why a lot of guys hold that in and they search for other things to fill that void.
Yep.
So completely like was just being honest with myself of where I was, and I'm happy that I'm in this process of going through the work. Like I said, I'm never going to get to the destination, but I'm definitely like so much more well equipped over these past couple of years to go on and do stuff like this and feel comfortable.
Think about if you did 12, 15 years in the NFL and then you retire and you got all this stacks of money, you're unmotivated because you've done that.
Yeah.
And like, it's almost like a blessing that your career panned out the way it did, because it motivated you to do different things. And not only that, but it like just motivated you to keep like hustling and like taking care of yourself and like improving yourself.
Exactly.
In my opinion, like if you got it all, like why wake up?
Right.
And so like you almost, it's like, thank God it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Because now I have this external motivation that I didn't think I had to do other things, to provide for my family, and to be the guy who they think I am.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm big on like, even throughout my whole career, I've always been the type to exhaust all possibilities. Like I'm in the gym, I'm working on myself. Like when I transitioned outside the league, I had to understand like you got to keep those same qualities about yourself. Like dive into yourself and go all in on that stuff, because at my core, that's who I am. Like, and if I'm not getting better, I don't feel happy within myself.
Dude,
you know?
I mean, you work out differently than I do, obviously.
Yeah.
But that self-care, if I don't do that, I feel miserable. Like putting my body through that stress, either mentally or physically, is like the only way I really feel appreciated to myself. Like Joe Rogan always said, like, if I don't suffer in the morning, if I don't do something that's hard, then like I feel like shit and I feel like I'm not worthy. And so like putting my body through that stress, whether it's mentally like writing things down or just following my tasks or following my schedule, or getting up early and working out and doing the ice bath in the morning when it's cold out. Yeah. Although it sounds so corny, that shit helps my mentals so much.
It does.
When I wake up at 8 a.m. and do my day, as opposed to waking up at 5, getting my workout in, it's a completely different path.
100%.
Every day. And it's like still a challenge every single day to do it. But I know that if I put my body through the stress and do shit that I don't want to do, everything else comes easy.
Yeah, we gotta always be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, because that's where you grow.
My dad always says, my grandfather told him, is like, when you're comfortable, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
That's when you got to move on, because you can't become complacent.
That's good advice. What does the brand look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What is Collin doing? What is your vision? I know you got a vision board. What is your vision for all of this in 5 or 10 years?
10 years, I hope I got a couple houses in Nashville and South Carolina near my family.
You will.
That's the goal. Literally the goal of this is just to be comfortable and take care of my people. That's all I care about. Like I said, I really do love giving. And if I could be the guy in my family that is like the first millionaire or the first one to like say, hey, I got you, that would mean so much to me.
You will. You will. Speak in definite terms. You will.
If you believe it, speak it. Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
But for the brand, I want to be global, obviously. You know, we started off with 2 hats and 2 T-shirts. I was completely self-funded. I used $7K of my own money and $10K of my dad's money to start the brand. And I started with T-shirts and hats because that's what I could afford. And now we dropped the denim.
Yeah.
We dropped those knitted sweaters.
Love them.
Those are stepping stone pieces, in my opinion, that are going to make Llovesick go from a T-shirt and hat brand to a full scale like fashion brand. I want to do everything top to bottom. I want to fill your closet with pieces. I want to have everything from a pair of sneakers to a bucket hat to a denim to a racing jacket, everything. So I want to just expand the catalog and really create a legitimate brand. I get a lot of praise. Like you said, you're doing great and all that stuff, but I truly don't think we're really doing much yet. I think we're at the bottom of the mountain, and we got a chance to summit. And I think in the next 3 to 4 years, I think 4 years from now, we're going to be up there with Rude. We're going to be up there with Kith. Those are some brands that I really looked up to. Yeah. And I want to be up there with the big dogs.
Absolutely. You will be.
I think I'm confident that I can get the brand there. I've gotten it here. And as long as I stay on the path and don't get distracted by the things that come when you get more successful, I think that the path is clear. A global brand that is an outreach to everybody. And obviously the story of the brand is what I think is keeping this whole train moving. Llovesick is to feel sick without something.
Yeah.
And why I started the brand, I was sick without compassion, or I was sick without companionship, and I was sick without fulfillment. I had zero fulfillment in my life, what I was doing. I had no companion in my life. And if I can just keep pushing that message, there's billions of people in the world that feel exactly like I felt then.
100%.
Feeling like they don't have a future, or feeling like they don't have a career path, or feeling they're not loved. I think Llovesick, the real meaning, is such a relatable thing that if that message can keep growing and growing, and we can continue to put out good products that quality gets better and better, then I think we can be a full-scale brand just as big as Rude and Kith. I know it's a big jump, but I truly believe that.
No, you're well equipped to do it. I love the meaning of Llovesick. I love what it stands for. I love obviously how you describe everything about it. I think there's so many people that are going to watch this and be motivated by your story. True underdog. That is what the show is about, bro. To me, that's what it's about. People that have these stories and go on, because there's so many people that get to this point and they don't share that part of their story.
Yeah.
And I think you can help so many people with what you've gone through. What advice would you give to somebody that's in a position of wanting to start maybe a brand, podcast, whatever it is, and they're not all the way there yet? What advice would you give them?
I think there's a lot of parts to it. I try to think about my exact feelings and what was holding me back from doing it. I think the number one thing is you got to be honest with yourself about your idea. You can't, I'm sure we've met people that are like, I got this idea, but they never really do anything. You got to be honest with the idea that you have. Is it legitimate? Do you give a fuck? Do you actually have a plan? Do you think you can do this? If you check all those boxes, then I think the biggest thing is, and I've said this before, but just making the jump and the sacrifices that come along with that. When I decided I was going to do this brand, I remember I stopped going out. Yeah. I started staying at home. I started drawing more. I started writing down my goals and my plans. And I started sacrificing little things, even though those sound like small things. They change how you look at things and how you move.
For sure.
And so my advice would be, if you have a legitimate plan, write it down, create a plan around it, and then make the jump. Because there's so many people that talk about it but never really do it. And you gotta, I hope I'm not sounding dumb here.
No.
You gotta look at your life and look down the road and kind of picture what you want. I had that epiphany. I literally looked at myself when I was 40, I was like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. And I'm either going to continue to do the things that I'm doing every day that's going to get me to that guy, or I'm going to change my life in these small areas. And it's not like you have to say bye to all your friends.
Right.
You have to cut them off or stuff, but like you just got to change the way you're moving. I think you really do got to change, like you got to pivot the way you're moving.
Yeah, you can't continue to do the same thing and expect the result that you want if you're trying to go a new direction.
Dude, I just made a pivot a month and a half ago. I went to Mexico. I was in Mexico all of February for weddings, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately, I mean, it was a drawn out month. And, partying with the boys. Mm-hmm. And as men, I think we keep our problems inside a lot. And I definitely do that. I don't talk to many people about it. I'm working on that now. But, you have all these problems, then you drink and you party with your boys, and you have the best time of your life. You come back to normal life and your dopamine drops to zero and all your problems get thrown up and they're all in front of you. And you're like, holy shit, like all this stuff I've been bearing is now right in front of my face. And I kind of had like a mental breakdown almost. I'm not even afraid to admit it, because I came back from Mexico and I like kind of freaked out. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm doing good, but like, I'm not the guy who I keep saying I am. I don't go work out when I'm supposed to work out. I sometimes skip meetings. I sleep in. I sit on the couch and watch Netflix. And when I got back from Mexico, I was like, I have to change something. Like, I'm doing a lot of good things, but I got to change one thing. And the thing that I changed was my body. I started getting up at 5 a.m. every single day. And I've been doing it for the last month and a half, every single day. Working out in the morning and then doing an ice bath, and just suffering in the morning was like that small change that has honestly like been changing my life slowly.
It does so much for you.
It's so aggro or cliche. It's like, go work out in an ice bath, especially now it's so popular.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, cliche, but like that shit changed just my mental thought process.
100%.
And I came back from Mexico. I was like, this is what I'm doing now. I don't feel right on how I was acting, and I'm going to make these small changes. And even if it is just working out consistently, I think working out consistently can lead to so many changes in your life.
Man.
Like so many changes.
Man, listen, people don't understand. When you start to get your body right, everything else follows.
Yes.
The way people approach you is different. You see a man that consistently works on his body and is serious about the way that he looks, it tells you something about the way that person just deals with life in general.
Yep.
And I think to have that mindset of, I'm going to get up and work out. Like, I saw something not too long ago. I think it was Kevin Gates. Like, he says when he's getting up to work out, he's celebrating what his body can do. Instead of looking at it as like, I got to get up and go work out. Like, no, I'm going to celebrate that I can go lift these weights and I can push my body, because that's going to get me where I need to go.
Isn't it crazy how like it's just perspective?
Yeah.
And it's like the hardest thing to change in your head, but it's also like it's not physical.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's just your mental switch.
The way you look at things.
It's just so crazy that just a tweak can change everything. And that's why I did it. I was like, I have to do these things. And ever since then, since like February 15th, February 16th or something like that, like my last month has been better than my last 9 months because of me just like being consistent with myself. That's another thing, consistency.
Yes.
It's like just that consistency of like, you're doing this. Like if you're consistent here, you're going to be consistent there and there and there. And I really, really like attest those changes, doing those changes, like making things easier for me.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You got to go hard. It has to be harder to make it easier. And it's been helping me so much.
I love that. That's super motivational. I know somebody's going to watch this and be like,
they're going to be like, Collin small shit. What are you talking about?
Nah, man, but you got it. You got the mentality, and you had a perspective. It may take you some time to get there.
I'm still going through it too.
Exactly.
Every day is a fucking battle. I wake up and I have that feeling of like, go back to bed. But I compare it to the feeling of walking out of the gym at 7 and seeing people coming in and being like refreshed. Like that feeling is way better.
And it's okay to play that game with your mind. Like that's what you're supposed to do, because your mind's going to tell you what's easiest, lay in bed, chill all day. When you go and you take advantage of the things that you're able to do, like look at it as you're able to do these things. So you should go celebrate the fact that you're getting better.
Exactly.
You know?
Mental push-ups.
Exactly.
Mental push-ups.
100%. Man, I'm super grateful that you came, dog. Obviously we've known each other for years, and we've never sat down and had this type of conversation. I love the brand, but I think, like I said earlier, what makes me love the brand so much is the person behind it. And every time that we speak, it's always love. And I genuinely appreciate that, because a lot of people don't move that way, you know?
Like I said when I walked in the door, man, you had no reason to support me. Literally zero reason. And any time I asked you to show up to something, you showed up. And that is what matters to me. Like showing up matters to me. And I'm telling my sister that I was doing this podcast, telling my mom, and they don't even know you, but they love you.
Yeah.
Which is the wildest thing.
That's dope.
It's because you support me for no reason.
That's dope.
And that means the world to me. And I cannot thank you enough for just being there, because just being there matters to me. Yeah. And you have been. So I appreciate you. And I appreciate you having me on here.
For sure.
And, anytime I'm back.
I appreciate that, man.
Well, we got a big weekend ahead of us.
Yeah, I'll be there at the event. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we got the Coyotes. This is the first collaboration, like official collaboration with Llovesick. Arizona Coyotes called me a few months back and said, "We see your stuff all around Phoenix. We want to learn the history of the brand, and we want to collaborate with you, and we want to make some pieces." And this brand, one of the reasons we were connected is because this brand is athlete focused. Not maybe necessarily with the pieces that I put out, but people like you, when I was younger, inspired the shit out of me to be great. I loved sports. I always wanted to be an athlete. I didn't have the drive for it when I was younger. I wish I had my head when I was young, because maybe I would have played pro lacrosse or something like that. But I always thought that I was so inspired by athletes that if I put my product on athletes, then other kids are going to be inspired too. And that's why I reached out to you, because you were an athlete, and I was like, I want to get this guy stuff. And so teaming up with a legit Power 5 sports organization is like a dream. And hopefully this goes well, and then we're on to the Lakers, or go get King James in the building or something like that, and maybe something comes from this. So it's just the beginning. I know you gave me high praise, and I very appreciate that, but I feel like we are just starting to become someone we are. So we got a lot in the future. And we're gonna have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm definitely excited for you. I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. We're gonna do another podcast.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna look a lot different from now. We're not at a bad spot now.
No.
We're
growing, both of us.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
I appreciate your support, bro.
Always, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you guys being here, checking out the episode. My man Collin came through. Hopefully you guys can check out the brand, Llovesick, Llovesick.com, 2 L's.
2 L's, very important.
Yeah, 2 L's. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed the episode.